I've seen this movie quite many times in the last 2 years, and hence every time I watch it, there are always instances where I feel that it could have been done better with some changes here and there, and I know it would not have become as great as Citizen Kane, but it surely would have helped a lot. So before going into those details, I would say that these are just my opinions, which are also based on some of the criticism that this movie received. So hold on to your seats as we go correcting almost every little thing I got issues with, and here we go. So right off the bat, we start with Grindelwald blasting some of the orders, and then with the newspaper headlines we are informed not just about the rising threat of Grindelwald, but also of some great details about Wizarding World of 1920s. It all goes well until we get to this scene in particular when many of the viewers, including myself, figured out that Graves is going to be Grindelwald in disguise, as David Yates, our 4-time Harry Potter film director, thinking of us as a bunch of fools, put the same angle on Graves as he did on Grindelwald, who also turned out to have the same hairstyle as the other one. This I think could have been avoided and used in some later part of the film when viewers had some time to really not pay close attention to this little detail, but would have been blown away once they noticed it in another one of their multiple viewings. But after this, I think most of the first act was as good as it could have been until we come to this part where the poses are a bit too much as it hinders the pacing of the movie, and I also think this could have been acted a little better than it was, especially by the actress playing Tina Goldstein. Almost the same issue comes up when they went inside the Goldstein apartment where there is a whole scene with them making a strudel. I mean, why would you put such a boring scene that has no connection to the film at all? It's just so unnecessary. I don't know why couldn't they just cut it right here and then continue on with the next scene and then back to Goldstein apartment. This would have been so much better. But no matter, there's still the Fantastic Beasts stuff to look out for. My only problem being that the CGI could have been a whole lot better and realistic like it was with Buckbeak in The Prisoner of Azkaban, which was released in 2004. Other than that, I think they could have also made Thunderbird look as injured as it was described in the script, which would have also made Newt's visit to New York a bit more to look out for and would have also made the tone a bit more consistent as we move on to a much darker scene. Something I thought could have been completely removed at first, but once I noticed that it ruins the flow of the movie, I thought it has to be kept in. But then at least for me, everything goes quite well after this. We find a great many things about Newt, the Wizarding World, Obscurials, something we haven't been introduced to before. Also the movie picks up some momentum. Meanwhile, we also get a hint about Graves, which is more than enough for anyone to get excited for. We also get to know a lot more about the visiting community in America as we meet a whole bunch of interesting looking characters that gives a little more depth to this world. But then we move on to this particular scene which I think had a huge potential to really make this movie far greater than it turned out to be. If they could have just included MACUSA orders follow Newt into the Macy's store once they get tipped off by Narlek, who had Pickett taken back from him. It would not have just raised the stakes but with magic spells fired in all direction and one of the beasts in danger rather than them being one. This could have also coincided with the Obscurus damaging the city as well, and we would have had a far better climax than we got in the actual film. But even more than that, the biggest problem I got with this movie was the reveal. And it's not that I got any problem with Johnny Depp playing Grindelwald, it's just that it could have been executed a little better. Because until that I was really into the whole story and had actually liked the fight between him and Tina, except maybe for their spells colliding which was not in the script. My problem with this whole thing was how we were not given any explanation about how Newt managed to figure it all out, when none of the high-ranking officials who knew Graves for a long while could not. If you could just tell Tina or even the president, it would have solved my biggest issue with this movie. And I know there are still some people who think that the rain scene was the most stupid part, but for me it was quite alright as it was set up quite effectively, unlike this transfiguration magic. But more than that, there are still some little points which I think could have been improved upon, which also had nothing to do with the story itself. Like Eddie Redmayne's mumbling his dialogues, there goes God. This particular glitch and some of the CGI which I think was not complete by the time of its release. So yeah, I think I have shared almost every damn issue I had with this movie and the way I would have sold them. We of course can't do much but wait for some fan edits like they did with the Star Wars prequels and now recently with Justice League. So please share if you do such a thing. I'm going to meet you next time. Till then, have a great day and take care.